Hello and welcome to Hak It, Series 2. This is an expert series, and today we are welcomed by one of the most accomplished women in the UK, in my opinion. She is a very well established actor, director, a mom, and a yoga teacher, Sadie Frost. So, Sadie, tell us your story.
Well, I don't really know where to start. I mean, it feels like I've been alive a very long time. But I was born here. Camden is such an important place for me. My mum was one of the first stall holders in Camden Market, and I used to come to work with her and sit underneath where she sold her antiques. And I also worked here with on a food stall. When I was little, I never liked eating meat and fish. My mum's tried to feed it to me, and I didn't want to eat it. So I think right from a very early age, I was very, very conscious of things and I had this huge kind of heart. I remember crying a lot as a kid if I saw a wounded pigeon or animals, and I really practiced ahimsa, which is like part of the Jiva Mukti practice, which is like non-harming yourself, non-harming animals. So I would never eat an animal or a fish, or I want to help all animals. So
How did you come across Jiva Mukti and Ayurveda and yoga and all of that?
So I got into yoga around because I've got this lung condition, which is called bronchiectasis, and this is why I sound bad today, because my bronchiectasis is bad. And when I was about 15, the doctors were saying they wanted to operate and remove my left lung. And I didn't want to have that done, because obviously that would have been a horrible kind of really intrusive thing to happen. And I got recommended to start doing yoga to really keep my lungs healthy, to do a lot of breath work. So I started doing yoga at about 15. I think also when you have lung problems, you can have emotional problems and you can have anxiety problems because you're not breathing properly. So anyway, I got into yoga. I was already a vegetarian. I got into yoga. I was already dancing and acting. I was at a stage school. I'd got a scholarship. And I kept coming and going to it and coming back, and kind of, I would say I could really properly committed 20 years ago, when I really wanted to change my lifestyle. I realized I'd got to the end of the road with, obviously things were exciting. My career was going well, and I was married to someone very exciting. I'd had children, but I was really desperately unhappy, in the sense that I was dragged into something I didn't want to be dragged into, and a very kind of the entertainment world, and some of it I found very, very toxic. So yoga was for me, and meditation. I suddenly realized there has to be something more. I'm not getting anything from this. And I started doing Jiva Mukti and going to India a lot, and doing lots of different retreats and doing teacher training courses. And I feel like I'm still having to remind myself every day that, to get some kind of peace, but, to not be caught up in the little things, materialism, consumerism, to keep things simple, to just love the people that matter to you, and help everybody that you possibly can.
I agree. I think that's beautiful. But it's tough because we live in these cities. It's busy. I mean, you've been an actor, you've been a director in several movies, you've been a mom. At some point you had 3 kids under 6, and you were managing to be disciplined enough, to do your yoga, in the middle of this crazy busy world of yours. Tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, I think it is about discipline, and I think just like you have to get up and wash your face and brush your teeth, some things to some people may seem like a chore, but for me, I love the mornings. Today I woke up at 4:30 a.m. I know it's a special day, like 12/12 portal day or something, but I woke up and I want to get up, I want to do yoga, I want to meditate, I want to do my intentions, and I like the 3 hours before anyone else is up. And I use that 3 hours to do whether it's work, like writing, or doing something for me. Because once, it gets to 9 o'clock, you're bombarded with, there's so much stuff that you don't want to be dealing with.
Yeah.
But you have to, because we all have to work, we all have to deal with people. And, for me, I just feel like I'm happy to get out and meditate and exercise and do yoga. And I think it really helps me grow as a person, because we can get into very, very negative cycles.
I mean, especially, I can only imagine the world of, you know, actors and directors. I mean, you're filming and you're filming at like odd hours. It's very hard to kind of keep your circadian rhythm. Like, I still don't understand how actors and directors manage it. I mean, how did you manage it?
I mean, I've been working on a project for 3 years, over 3 years, which should have taken a year and a half, and it becomes very problematic because you're like, it's like herding cats. Nothing gets finished, and you're trying to finish it, and then you feel it's like a bad dream. You think you've got there, and then something else happens. I mean, the film came out at the London Film Festival. It got great reviews, but we're still editing. I've been editing this week, and the thing is, like, you do a lot of traveling. The hours are odd. So you can try and be consistent with your food. I can try and be healthy, but sometimes I'm running around. I might not have eaten something, you know, as nutritious as I should do, that is supporting my body. I'm moving around, so I'm not carrying my vitamins and my herbs and my spices. And this time, you know, I had to travel to Germany last week. I came back, was editing. Maybe I didn't eat well. I caught a little cold, and you know, I didn't have any of the medicine with me to support. Like you said today, I've got some homeopathic medicine, but I just didn't have those things at hand.
Yeah.
So you can, I mean, I think it's better than it used to be, because you used to just be eating sandwiches all the time, and that's not nutritious. Whereas now you might get a good vegetarian option if you're working, but you can skip a lot of meals, and you know, and there's a lot of fatigue, mental fatigue. So you've got to keep yourself buoyant and fresh and energized and excited. But you know, there's a lot of work to do that. It's a lot of preparation. It's all about preparation.
I love that. I love that. I mean, in a world where you were surrounded by your friends who were probably, you know, doing drugs, alcohol, smoking, I mean, anything to survive, right? Because it's such a stressful, toxic environment, like you mentioned. And you would go home because you had to sleep and you wanted to wake up early and do your yoga. Right, and you talk about this preparation, right? I think it would be great to tell our community about, you know, how you prepare and like, how do you make sure? Today we're what, December 12th? A whole year's gone by, running, traveling. At least, I mean, I can speak for myself, right? Like, this is how I feel, that by December, my discipline is like, or willpower, is at its lowest. And I have to scramble the energy. I have to find ways to make sure that I do my process in the morning. And I don't succeed every day, by the way, right? And the days I don't succeed, I don't feel very good. And I'm not my 100% productive. And I'm not my happiest.
No.
So tell us, like, how can I make sure that I'm always prepared and I'm always sort of disciplined, and how do I keep my willpower up high, even in December?
Well, the thing is, it's like, none of us are perfect. And, you know, even though I've done yoga all my life, I've still gone out and I have had fun and I have partied. And, you know, I'm like, you know, I can, but I've also been very, I like to go home early. I know that I have to take care of myself. And I know there's no point, there's so much that can happen socializing that you can get back, that actually when you're doing stuff, when you have a relationship with yourself, you know, so like in you know, with the chakras, a relationship with your parents, with your partners, with your boyfriends, with your friends, with your teachers. And as you get to be a bit older, you're having a relationship with yourself, and it's about that. And it's like, you know, I know that my time is the most important thing. It's more important than kind of success or money or people saying ego stuff to me. Time is my, you know, is my kind of, my currency, my jewelry, my, you know, it's the thing that excites me. And I think for me, like studying the Patanjali, the Yoga Sutras, which really talks about willpower and how do you like have that willpower, what makes some people really want to, you know, like humans are kind of like, as soon as you get into your senses and you get into taste and smell and addiction, you know, you forget like your little essence, what is it, the Purusha, your little diamond inside you, your soul. We forget that, and we forget like that soul, that higher power, and we kind of become something we're not, and it's stripping back and looking at that thing. But I like to really plan things. I know we're supposed to live in the moment, but to make things happen, I have to plan. You know, I know, like We're at the end of the year now, feel a bit burnt out. I was really looking forward to going out with some friends this week. I got sick. I knew that I had to cancel everything and do the bare minimum, you know, work and coming today. And that's what you have to do. You have to, you know, the socializing side, you know, should definitely not be high on your list. I don't get much from it. And, you know, I know like next year what's going to excite me is I'm going to go back to Jiva Mukti study. I'm going to go back and do more teacher training. And I'm going to go to the ashram, Hare Krishna ashram in Eco Village outside Mumbai in January. I'm so excited about taking that step. Like, even though I've done the teacher training, doing the actual teacher training in the ashram with the Hare Krishnas, and really, really committing to it. And, you know, I'm on a journey, and it's like, I'll be doing this, you know, forever. So this is my dedication, my practice. It's more important than anything.
Wow. It's finding that inner peace, the inner happiness that you don't necessarily get when you socialize at night. I find that, I think that's so amazing. And the power of saying no.
Yeah.
And turning FOMO into JOMO, the joy of missing out.
Yeah.
Right? I think that is amazing. I think that's what, I mean, I don't know if you remember what it was like being my age, like in your 30s, you know, young kids.
There's a lot more that would be, different things would excite me. And you know, it gets to a point where I think some people carry on doing the same thing, and they're scared to break free, and they think they need to be relevant, or they need to do this, or they need to, but for me it's like, I just felt like I started getting really annoyed with people, people kind of, I felt like I was being kidnapped. My time was being kidnapped. People were telling me to do this, come here, do this, do that. And I just took ownership of my own life. I thought, this is the life I want to do. I want to like appreciate the simple things. And, you know, I want to be true to myself. And I think I hadn't been true to myself for a while. And I think once I refound myself, it really helped. And yeah, there's days that I have struggles, challenges with work, with, you know, I'm very independent. I'm not married, I'm single. I love being single and not being married, but there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of responsibility on me. You know, like, I was even thinking yesterday when I'm ill, like, you know, you're when you're on your own, the kids have left home, I'm ill, my friends are offering to come over, but, you know, I don't have a husband who's gonna look after me. But at the same time, I also don't have to answer to anybody. I can get up at 4:30 in the morning and start working. My time is my time.
I love that. You have a relationship with yourself that you work on.
Yeah.
And you are your own best friend.
Exactly. And my little sausage dog.
Little
Cherry.
Sweetest. I think that's amazing. I mean, I think it's, and I think it probably comes with a lot of practice, because it's not like one day you can be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to have a relationship with myself.
It's a process. Like, definitely didn't happen overnight. Like, I'm probably such a different person to who I was 15 years ago, but it was a slow thing. And, you know, maybe I can't remember ever having to force myself to get to a yoga class or to practice. You know, for me, it's just, I wake up in the morning. You know, when people want to do the tapping, when you feel like you have the emotional stuff or like anything that you're holding on to, the tapping really helps. Yeah, like the trauma thing. And the thing is, so it's like I wake up in the morning. Some people want to write in their diary. Some people want to tap. Some people, you know, but it's basically about moving the energy around the body. So by doing the breath work, the breathing with the pranayama, through the postures, the asana, you're moving the life force around the body, and you're clearing away all the energy, and you're removing the darkness. And then you're basically bringing the energy back to the lower spine, to the root chakra, and you're engaging in all the chakras, and you're moving the energy through so that energy can flow. When we're feeling down, depressed, you know, angry, jealous, all those negative things, it's when the energy is kind of being moved around. It's being stuck in all these places. So by doing the breath work in the morning, by doing the meditation, by doing the pranayama, by checking in with yourself, you're moving everything around. So you feel that nice flow. And if you feel like you're stuck, you get that horrible feeling, you know, and you can become very aware of, like, you know, you're not feeling comfortable in your skin. It's like you're wearing something that's too tight, something that's like strangling you. but it's just yourself. It's your energy that's strangling you. So by learning to remove that every day, you feel a lot better.
I love that. I actually feel quite motivated myself because, I mean, run up to Christmas, you're invited like every night to something or the other. And it's all probably inflammatory, like sleeping late, messed up circadian rhythm. You wake up, you're not able to do your morning routine. I mean, I think it would be amazing in the run up to Christmas, sleeping early, waking up early, doing some breath work, meditation, feeling happy, starting the day with like happiness. And then if you're happy, you're good to other people, you're kind, you're the best version of yourself. I think that's a better way to end the year rather than like, oh yeah, everyone's like, it's holiday mood, and holiday just means letting go and eating and drinking and overindulging and sleeping late because that's the norm. But actually, that's not a nice way to end the year, because then every year you end the year feeling like, oh my God, I'm wiped and I'm exhausted, and it's, January is where I'm going to fix everything. And that's a Band-Aid. Because
you're just burnt out. You're just burnt out. And it's like a whirlwind. I just don't know what do you actually get from it at the end of the day. It's just frenetic energy. But if you can keep yourself present, and that's why I always said to my kids, like, let's keep it simple. We're not going crazy this year. You don't need lots of stuff. Let's just have a lovely meal together. Let's just do some nice walks together. I teach yoga to my kids as well. They love kind of checking in and doing a bit of breath work and doing that kind of thing as well.
That's beautiful. Like family bonding in a real way. So tell us what it was like. I mean, I feel like it was even harder for you than even me, because like I'm still sort of running a business. It's a brand, and I'm invited everywhere, and it's part of brand building that you kind of have to show up. So you feel like it's very difficult for me to say no sometimes. So I need to work on that next year, I feel. Prioritize me, relationship with me, and but I feel like it must have been even harder for you, because everyone around you back in the day when you were an actress, or in even now directing and all of that, it must have been so hard to be the odd one out and say, no, I'm not gonna do this, and I'm gonna go home at 9 and go to sleep at 10 and wake up in the morning and do my yoga and all that.
I think people got used to me saying no. I think I'm so good at making excuses as well as just saying, like, if I know I can't do something, I know it's not the right thing. A lot of people don't understand as well. Like, I'm editing a documentary at the moment, and I've started 2 other documentaries and working on a feature film. When everyone else is kind of have got downtime or going out for a dinner or something, I'm on the computer often working on these projects. So I need an extra 4 or 5 hours a day. So I need to work, and I'm creating, like, you're creating a brand. The good thing is, like, I've chosen a profession now where I don't have to be so social. So directing is quite insular. It's quite in my head. Jivamukti, doing yoga is amazing because I love teaching. I can practice on my own. I'm reading books. I'm listening to Audible books, studying. I'm going back to other retreats and teacher training. So the thing is, I've moved into an area where I can be less kind of front kind of facing. I can be a bit behind. I can kind of hide a bit. I'm like, oh yeah, I make jokes that, my kids are out there now. Let them have the fun, and people understand. I get up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning. How can I? It's very hard for me to be up at 5. I mean, up after 9 or 10. So, but I understand when I was younger and I had my brands, I had to go do a lot of schmoozing. And I have to do a little bit now when the premieres are on or the film festivals. I don't have to do so much. You just have to choose. You have to be wise and don't get pulled into too many things.
You have to be prioritized.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. So you spoke a little bit about, like, I'm quite curious because I kind of want to picture it. You spoke quite deeply about, well, you kind of touched on it, the toxic environment, right, in this industry of acting and producing, directing, films, glamour in general. I want to hear a little bit more about that, and I want to understand if your lifestyle, being vegetarian and yoga and mindful, how that kind of helped you with this toxic environment, or just surviving and thriving in this toxic environment.
I mean, the industry's changed a lot, and it's like everything, I remember acting in the 80s, or being a young actress and doing love scenes, or there's a lot more men on. You weren't your kind of feelings weren't ever really kind of thought about or acknowledged. It's changed now. I think there's definitely more women on set, so you're more supported, so the balance is equal. But I mean, as a young actress in the industry, you were a minority, and you weren't asked how are you. You're doing a love scene, it's freezing cold, you're outside, there's loads of men around, and you just feel very, very awkward. I think as you kind of become more experienced, you kind of work out what direction you want to go in. And I chose to step out of certain things that I didn't feel comfortable with. And I think when I mean toxic, I mean sometimes just negative, because it's very transitory. People are in little groups, and you get to know somebody very intensely, and you may never see them ever again, because it's not like having a normal job where it's like you're a gypsy, or you're a traveller, or you're camping. You're kind of moving around, and you get very, very close, and then everyone kind of falls away. It's if you can, like, I'm sure you've read a lot about the film industry, it can be very cutthroat. It's hard, the hours are hard. You've got to be at work at 6 a.m. You might have had to have driven 2 hours to get there. So people, you can sometimes only kind of living off 4 or 5 hours sleep and working through lunch. It's not like you sit down and have a proper lunch. So it's an unhealthy, stressful environment. Personally, it is stressful. I always have good relationships with people. I don't like to be conflictual. And I just try and choose people to work with who I get on with. I have a very good team around me. Like now I have a very strong producer, very strong editor, people that can kind of help me process my head, because my head can be quite, all over the place with ADHD and kind of like, with my thoughts. So I need to be calm, I need to be focused. But no, it can be, it can be toxic. You can see what's going on in the world now with celebrity culture. People have been allowed to get away with far too much for a long, long time. And it is having, it's coming, things are changing.
Wow. And do you think that your lifestyle kind of helped you through it? Does it play a part? Like, and how did you cope with all of that?
Well, I think my parents were very young when they had me, and they were bohemian, and my mum was a hippie, and they were very grounded, very working class. They don't care. Like, everyone in my family is the same. I've got 10 brothers and sisters. Even though I lived here, my mum was from Manchester, and I couldn't have airs and graces. I couldn't behave a certain way. Everyone would laugh at me. My sisters would be just like, they don't care about any of that. They're real people. They're hardworking people, honest people, and I think by the fact that I had a very down-to-earth family, I had to, maybe when I was in my 20s, there's a few years where I kind of was like, oh, look how amazing thinking that kind of thing, that young person, living in ego. Didn't last very long, because the people around me, I have very good friends, very good family, and they all kind of pointed me in the right direction. So I think it's a lot to do with my mom and my sisters.
That's amazing. I think that's so inspirational, having that that sangha, as they say in Ayurveda, your community.
Yeah.
Actually, it's one of the longevity markers. If you want to live, long and disease-free, right? That's kind of what longevity is. Besides, I think nutrition plays a big part. Exercise plays a big part. Meditation, yoga plays a big part. And then sleep plays a big part. And then after that comes community, laughter, happiness. You'd seen Blue Zones, right? The very famous Netflix documentary, and they were filming these communities that outlived everybody else. And one of them was just they would love to dance with each other even when they were 100 years old or something, and laugh and have conversations.
Keep the fun going, have the fun,
The importance of that. That's amazing. What recently I came across Benedict Cumberbatch and his work with Lambda. He's quite passionate about these young actors, because he looks back at his time and he was like, this can be a lot of exhaustion, like you said. You know, you might need to be at work at 6 a.m. And which means you have to get up at 3 a.m. and drive for 2 hours. I mean, there's a lot of exhaustion. So what would your advice be for like these young, aspiring actors, directors, anyone wanting to get in the film industry?
I mean, what I say to, even my kids, because, my younger son is studying film, my daughter's acting, my other son's acting. Very different from me getting into the film industry in the 90s. There's a lot more competition. The film, like I would go up for a role, there'd be one out, me and 20 other actresses. And then now it might be 1 and 200, There's a lot more competition. You have to work really hard. It is not glamorous. It is hard. Like there's like a certain percentage will do really well and earn lots of money. But I always say to everyone, if you want to do it, go into it. But also think about doing another job too. If you're acting right, for me, I was an actor. I write, produce, direct. I could never just concentrate on one thing because the industry changes. It's very fickle, and it isn't glamorous. It's hardworking. I look at some of my friends that stuck around and did things like build brands, makeup brands, fashion brands. Some of them. Some of them are billionaires now, and I'm thinking, my job was so hard. It's like directing a documentary is like 3-4 years work. But that's what I like. I like being creative. I like being freelance. I don't want to be in a company anymore. But you just have to feel passionately about it and not take anything personally, because sometimes things happen for a reason. Sometimes we judge ourselves thinking we should be, successful. We should be this, we should be that. But you might be a working actor. You might still be doing good work. You could be doing theatre. Just everyone's time will come. Don't give up just keep going and enjoy it, because it's not about the end result. It's about the journey.
I love that. I feel like that's surrendering, right? Like knowing that there are bigger powers at play, the universe. We're all balls of energy.
Yeah.
Passion is an energy. Ambition is an energy. And do that, enjoy the journey, and leave the result to, the ultimate powers at play, stars, astrology. I mean, there's just so much that we don't understand, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to keep yourself grounded amongst the competition, the, things changing. But why didn't I get it? But I did everything. Oh, that's a shame. It's a real shame. It's hard to snap out those.
And then you get conditioned by that, and that is what is basically you're identifying as that kind of negative energy, like, I didn't get this and I didn't get that and this didn't happen, rather than look at look what is happening, what are the good things going on in my life.
I think the magical thing to do is when something bad happens, say to yourself, this was a cheap price I paid for something that was going to be catastrophic.
Exactly. You have to go. Definitely. I do that.
Full. It's hard to do, but conditioning, I think, again, goes back to self-love, preparation, relationship with oneself. And I think people should start that early. I feel like I've started that too late, in my 30s. In my 20s, this concept, no one even, these podcasts didn't exist. Social media wasn't as prevalent as it is today. There weren't enough platforms for people like you to come and share, all this wisdom, the learnings you've had. And in my 20s, I didn't even know this existed, a relationship with self, And
sometimes maybe in your 20s, you're not ready for it. I think it's good the seed is planted and then you slowly, it becomes like a thing in your 20s. The seed's planted in your 20s, 30s, 40s. And as you get older and you see people, wise old people, and they have a real true connection to themselves, and that is what it is about.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, what do we expect to see? I know you're working on a number of projects. All are quite meaningful, impactful. So tell us about these projects and what we might see coming out on the celluloid.
So I've got this just finishing Twiggy documentary about the supermodel Twiggy, and that will be out in the cinemas the 7th of March. It's in some festivals at the moment, so I'll be travelling to some Dublin, Copenhagen, some festivals. Then it'll be in the cinema. Then it's on the BBC. And then I'm just in the process of starting another doc, my third doc, about culture in the 60s, more from a male perspective. So I'm starting that now. I've also got there's another documentary series, 3-part series with the BBC about culture in the film industry. And then I'm working on a feature film, which is based around kind of aging and longevity, which is, I think will be, I've got a big meeting today about it. So I'm co-writing that with a writer in LA. I think those 4 projects are taking up a lot of time.
I mean, you have got more than your hands full. 4 big projects like that, all quite impactful in my opinion. I can't wait to see them.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking
Thank
the time.
you.
I know you weren't feeling your best.
Yes.
But
It was
this
a lovely
is where,
chat.
yeah, no, but this is where I think I'm so inspired because, you know, again, prioritization, right? Where it's the run up to Christmas, but you're like, I'd rather say no to my socializing, but this is work. You know, you wanted to come, you know, share your story, you wanted to come support me.
Exactly. And I made
so,
a commitment, and it was important, and I wanted to do it. I think, you know, going out and having a few bevies with your friends can wait till next year. I keep putting it off.
I love
In 10
that.
years' time, I'll meet my friends for a pie.
I love that. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
taking the time.
Thank you.
This was such a lovely chat.
Yeah, it was lovely.
It's going to be a very special episode, filmed on 12/12/24. Very cosmic. Thank you for listening to Hack It. I hope you enjoyed the insights and stories that we shared today. Are you hungry for more? Follow us on Instagram at The Foodhak. That's a hack without a C. Or subscribe now to be the first to hear about our next episode when it drops. See you next time.